Iran just made a claim that intelligence agencies around the world are scrambling to verify. They say their missiles didn't just hit a compound. They say they targeted Benjamin Netanyahu, personally. And here is the part that nobody can explain yet. Since that strike, Netanyahu has not been seen. No video. No press conference. No statement. Nothing. For one of the most publicly active leaders on the planet, in the middle of a war. That silence is raising a question the world cannot stop asking. What exactly happened inside that compound? Stay with us, because this story goes deeper than you think. Let's start with what Iran is actually saying, because this is not a vague rumor. These statements are coming from Iranian officials and state-connected media. Directly. On record. Iran claims that a recent missile strike targeted what they describe as a high-security Israeli leadership compound. A fortified facility used by Israel's most senior government figures. But here is what makes their claim explosive. Iran says they didn't just decide to hit the compound at random. They say they had intelligence, active intelligence, suggesting that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was inside the facility at the moment of impact. This was not a symbolic strike. According to Iran, this was a targeted operation against Israel's head of government. And the weapons they chose? Iranian officials say they deployed advanced ballistic missiles, specifically selected for one purpose, penetrating heavily fortified, hardened structures. They describe the warheads as carrying extreme explosive force. They say the destruction inside that compound at the moment of impact would have been, in their own words, devastating. They go further still. Iranian officials argue that under the conditions created by those missiles, survival for anyone at the center of the strike would have been extremely difficult. That is the claim on the table. Now here is where it gets complicated. In any normal situation, this is where the story ends quickly. A foreign adversary makes an outrageous claim about a sitting prime minister. The government comes out within hours. The leader appears on camera. The claim is denied. The world moves on. That has not happened. Iranian officials have been tracking this, and they won't let it go. They are pointing to what they call a complete absence of any new, verified footage of Netanyahu since the strike. No live press conference. No televised address to the Israeli public. No time-stamped video statement. No confirmed public appearance. Now, let's be careful here, because absence of evidence is not evidence. But context matters enormously. Benjamin Netanyahu is not a leader known for going quiet during a crisis. In previous military escalations, he was on camera almost every day. Sometimes multiple times a day. Addressing the nation. Briefing the press. Speaking to international allies. That is his pattern. That has always been his pattern. So when that pattern stops, at the exact moment Iran is making this claim, people in intelligence circles, in diplomatic offices, and in newsrooms around the world start asking serious questions. And right now, nobody has a confirmed answer. So what is actually going on? Let's lay out every realistic explanation, fairly and honestly. Explanation 1, Iran's claim is accurate. Their intelligence placed Netanyahu at the compound. The strike hit. And what Israel is managing right now is an unprecedented crisis at the highest level of government. This is what Iran wants the world to believe. And the uncomfortable truth is, it cannot simply be dismissed because it is alarming. Explanation 2, Netanyahu is fine, and Israel is running an information strategy. This is a legitimate tactic used by governments during wartime. When an enemy makes a damaging claim, sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Engaging with the claim gives it oxygen. Israel may be deliberately refusing to react, not because the claim is true, but because silence denies Iran the propaganda win of forcing a public denial. Explanation 3. Security protocols are driving the silence. During active conflict, heads of state are sometimes moved to undisclosed, classified locations. Public appearances are reduced or eliminated specifically to protect them from further targeting. The silence may not mean anything went wrong. It may mean security is working exactly as it should. Explanation 4. Israel is preparing its response. Major military and political decisions at this level take time. Israel may be in the middle of planning its next move, and the last thing they want is a press conference that tips off their intentions before they're ready to act. Every single one of these explanations is plausible. But here is the problem with all of them combined. The longer any of them continues without a public appearance from Netanyahu, the stronger Iran's narrative gets. Not because the narrative is true, but because in the information age, silence has its own meaning. And that meaning grows louder with every passing hour. Let's step back and understand why this claim, verified or not, is unlike almost anything we have seen in this conflict. Targeting a weapons depot is serious. Targeting an air base is serious. Targeting a nuclear facility would be serious. But targeting a sitting head of government, that is in a completely different category. That is a threshold that, if crossed, rewrites the rules of the entire conflict. Think about what that would mean. Israel's entire response calculus would change overnight. International allies would face immediate, overwhelming pressure to act. The United Nations Security Council would convene in emergency session. And every government in the region, including those that have stayed neutral, would be forced to pick a side. Because the moment you attempt to assassinate a head of state, you are no longer fighting over territory or deterrence. You are fighting for survival. Iran appears to understand this. Whether or not the strike succeeded, the fact that they are publicly claiming they attempted it is itself a message. A very deliberate, very calculated message. It says, we reached the heart of your government. And we want you to know it. That message is being received. In Jerusalem, in Washington, in every European capital, and in every intelligence agency watching this situation right now. This is no longer just a military confrontation. This is now a war over information, perception, and political will. So what are we watching for in the hours and days ahead? First, any verified new appearance by Netanyahu. A live, confirmed, time-stamped video would cut through all of this immediately. Watch for it. Second, an official Israeli response to Iran's specific claims. That silence will not hold indefinitely. When it breaks, pay close attention to the exact wording. Third, signals from Israel's allies. The United States, the United Kingdom, and other close partners will likely have independent intelligence assessments of their own. How they respond, or don't respond, will tell its own story. Fourth, Iran's next move. If they believe this operation achieved its goal, what do they do with that belief militarily and diplomatically? That decision could define the next phase of this conflict entirely. Every one of these developments could reframe this story within hours. We are watching all of it, closely. One side launched a strike and is claiming they targeted a head of state. The other side has not appeared in public since. And a watching world, from intelligence agencies to ordinary citizens, is left with a single unanswered question. What happened inside that compound? Until we know, this story is not over. If you want every major development covered the moment it breaks, subscribe now and hit the notification bell. We don't do noise. We do depth. Stay informed.